Many of the struggles people describe as battles of life are not always external forces working against them. Often, they are the accumulated result of internal patterns left unchecked. Ignorance, financial illiteracy, poor mental discipline, low self-worth, addictions, procrastination, lack of focus, indiscipline, the pull of social media, the influence of the wrong company, the craving for immediate gratification, a life without clear direction or purpose. These are not just small weaknesses, they quietly shape outcomes. Over time, they don't just remain habits, they become systems that quietly govern a person's life. And when the consequences begin to show, it is easy to label them as spiritual battles or attacks, when in reality, many of them began as permissions, small compromises allowed over time. That's the uncomfortable truth. What we consistently allow within us eventually shapes what we experience around us. So people spend valuable time seeking external intervention, crying, praying endlessly, climbing mountains, while ignoring the inner patterns that keep reproducing the same outcomes. Now, to be clear, this is not to dismiss the place of prayer or divine help. But there is a principle that cannot be ignored. Heaven often responds to what man takes responsibility for. If a person lacks discipline, no amount of prayer replaces daily structure. If a person is financially careless, prayer does not override poor decisions. If a person avoids growth, breakthrough will feel delayed. This is where your thought becomes powerful. Knowing Jesus is not meant to make people passive, it is meant to make them transformed. It should sharpen awareness, elevate thinking, build discipline, align desires, and bring clarity to purpose. If someone claims faith but continues in patterns that sabotage their life, then something is missing, not in God, but in understanding and application. Interestingly, there are people who may not profess faith, yet they understand themselves, exercise discipline, live intentionally, and act with clarity. And because of that, they produce results that appear successful. Why? Because they have mastered certain internal laws, whether they call it that or not. So the call is not merely to look up, but first to look within. To examine your thoughts, your habits, your beliefs, your daily choices. Because transformation does not begin with circumstances, it begins with consciousness. As scripture implies, the real battleground is internal. The imaginations, the thoughts, the patterns that rise against truth. When these are confronted and brought into alignment, something shifts. Confusion begins to clear. Discipline starts to form. Direction becomes visible. And freedom emerges, not suddenly, but steadily. So perhaps many life battles are not mountains placed before us, but mirrors revealing what must be corrected within us. And when a person takes responsibility for that inner work, prayer becomes more effective, effort becomes more productive, and life begins to respond differently. Freedom is not always found in escaping problems. Sometimes, it is found in understanding and correcting the patterns that created them. And when that happens, what once felt like a battle becomes a lesson, and eventually, a testimony.